In 1993, Chipotle Mexican Grill was founded by Steve Ells in Denver, Colorado. Somehow, he knew Colorado would have a serious munchies epidemic in the near future. In order to grow his business, Ells received a small loan of $1.5 million from his father. McDonald's hopped aboard the Chipotle train pretty early on, buying up 51% of their stock during the company's 1998 IPO. But in 2006, Mickey D's started to reduce ownership.
Get out of here.
That's right, even McDonald's didn't want to associate itself with the Tex-Mex chain. And you know how we feel about McDonald's. While most of the ingredients are included on a Chipotle burrito for free, the guacamole is $1.95 extra. And Chipotle employees love to drive this point in and mock you by telling you it's $1.95 extra every single time you go through the line. At one point in 2009, the chain decided to spice things up by adding a chicken pozole soup to its menu. But as it turns out, adding a completely new menu item with its own unique ingredients and separate prep requirements to an assembly line restaurant is actually the worst idea. The soup was quickly removed, but for some reason, the guacamole stayed $1.95 extra. In June of 2015, Chipotle started to test chorizo in Kansas City. Apparently, the processed chicken/pork sausage went over well for the chain, causing the American Heart Association to voice support for The Wall, hoping it will help keep this particular type of Mexican food from taking away our arteries. Chipotle is proud of their chorizo though, especially when it comes from local chickens and pigs, because apparently it's better to eat your friendly neighborhood Wilbur than his no-good, no-name third cousin from fucking Wisconsin or something. Also, fuck Wisconsin. In 2010, Chipotle claimed that they were buying more than 50% of at least one ingredient locally. This rather deceiving statistic was cleared up in a 2015 interview when Ells said that around 10% of their produce is locally sourced. So it's kind of like when your mom asks you how you did on a test and you're like, I got a 90% on a multiple choice portion, but you don't tell her it was a 3-part test. And apparently Teach didn't think your Jackson Pollock-esque doodle summed up the use of literary devices in the Grapes of Wrath as beautifully as you did. Whatever. He's a square anyways. Guac is $1.95 extra. GMOs, or genetically modified organisms, are a large source of controversy for this company. Some say they're the death of humanity, others say they're the cure to world hunger. Either way, Chipotle announced in early 2015 that they will no longer use products containing GMOs. People got a little salty and pointed out that some of Chipotle's meats eat GMO grains before they become, well, meat. And then they reached in for another handful of Lay's organic baked Doritos before clicking on to the next Vox article. Now, in the past few years, Chipotle has had several issues with virus outbreaks. We know this from the Foodborne Illness Outbreak Database, which is a site I recommend you don't visit if you've ever eaten out, ever. Here's the link. The site details the Apple Valley Chipotle Mexican Grill lettuce outbreak of 2009. That February, the people of Minnesota found themselves being even more miserable than they normally are. You know, being Minnesotans in February. See, their local Chipotle had decided that Campylobacter jejuni would pair well with lettuce on top of your burrito bowl. What happened? Well, raw chicken came into contact with lettuce. So yummy. Fortunately, no one died, but 2 Minnesotans were hospitalized, leaving the only other 2 Minnesotans to run the entire state. That's not real, it's a joke, because you see, Campylobacter jejuni usually results in diarrhea and fever. The diarrhea itself can vary in severity from loose to bloody stools. In other words, it wasn't just the spiciness of the food that could leave you on the toilet for 6 hours straight. In December of 2015, the E. coli outbreak was nothing to laugh at. 20 people across 9 states had to be hospitalized after scarfing down burritos and guac, and stocks dropped right along with them. The company issued a statement acknowledging that they were at higher risk for foodborne illnesses than their competitors because they don't freeze any of their ingredients. The only problem with that statement is that many pathogens aren't killed when they're frozen, they're preserved. Oh yeah, and guac is $1.95 extra. In August of 2015, 100 people got sick after eating at a Chipotle in Ventura County, SoCal. The cause? Neurovirus, which is markedly different from the typical kind of sickness in SoCal. Aesthetics. God damn it. What was the reason neurovirus spread? Well, it wasn't the locally sourced food or even the antibiotic-free proteins. It was just the people. The employees weren't washing their fucking hands before they touched the food, or before they touched the guacamole that I have to pay $1.95 extra to fucking purchase. September of 2015 brought along the 3rd E. coli outbreak for Chipotle that year. Oregon and Washington had 19 sick people between them, 8 of whom were hospitalized. E. coli is killed off when you cook it, but it's pretty hard to wash off produce. You remember how your mom always told you to eat your veggies? Well, If she was trying to get you to eat them raw, there is a good chance she was trying to murder you. Now, if you're wondering why you've never heard of Campylobacter and E. coli outbreaks, it's not just because they sound like a Pokemon and its trainer respectively. People do a pretty good job of tuning out these things when said restaurant is their go-to restaurant. I know I have. You probably didn't hear about the hepatitis A outbreak either. 20 people, 8 female and 12 male, fell ill with hepatitis A in March and April of 2008 in San Diego. But don't worry, they were fine. I mean, except for the 2-month stint of constant gastrointestinal pain. When you consider that hepatitis B and C are usually spread through needle sharing, you can imagine that was a fun one to explain over Easter dinner. Also, guacamole cost $1.95 extra. If you're thinking, well, they fucked up the bid on food safety, but that's probably because all of their money goes towards sourcing local organic food. Well, no. Glassdoor's economic research blog discovered that the average CEO earns 204 times the median worker pay. So if a median employee's salary is $10,000, then on average, that CEO would be making $2,040,000. At Chipotle, the CEO is making 1,522 times the median salary. Walmart is only at 1,133 times the salary. Fucking Walmart. Way to go, Steve. Hey, remember Minnesota? Oh, don't worry, we don't either. But you know who does? Chipotle. 2 years after the Apple Valley outbreak, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, went in and uncovered hundreds of undocumented workers there. However, ICE didn't do anything as punishment, citing Minnesota is punishment enough. And finally, guacamole is $1.95 extra.
I accidentally ate an old burrito.